There you go.
Thanks for letting us know.
Yeah.
All right, I'm here with my friend, Dr. Julio Garcia, one of the best hormone optimization experts around and prestigious, very prestigious plastic surgeon.
Oh, yes.
Anyone's thinking about so if anyone's thinking about a sex change, make an appointment with Dr. Garcia. He'll make sure that everything is done properly.
Yes.
But we're not gonna talk about that today. We're going to talk about peptides. And a lot of my people are really interested in peptides because they've heard me talk about my experiences with CGC, ipamorelin, tesamorelin, and some of the other peptides that actually enhance sex drive and function dramatically. And then also one that increases luteinizing hormone. So it's a natural testosterone booster that has profound effects. So we're going to talk about those peptides mainly today. But let's start with the growth hormone enhancing peptides.
Yeah.
The two that stick out to me the most that I've tried and that I've seen the most data on are, again, that combination of CGC, ipamorelin, and tesamorelin. Yeah. So what exactly are peptides? And then how does it enhance growth hormone, these peptides?
Well, the peptides basically are small chains of product. And by that, I mean, they're amino acids that have been put into, a device to make these new kind of ingredients, so to speak, because these products are maintained for certain reasons. Now, when you talk about CJC and ipamorelin, it's a great discussion point because it's two products. It's two products that are there, and I'll go into why I like that product versus tesamorelin, which is very popular, very good for growth hormone type of boosting scenarios, okay? But I find that the tesamorelin, you gotta use it for very short periods of time. It's not something you want to go out there. And it's because—
what period of time would be a couple of weeks, or what are you thinking?
No, I would say, hey, if you're gonna do tesamorelin, 4 to 6 weeks, and then you gotta take a break, for sure. Okay. Now, it has its benefits. You get a real bang. Speaking of what we were talking about things, and that's fine. That's okay to use. Yeah. But when you start comparing tesamorelin to CJC with ipamorelin, that to me, for the average guy that's not trying to get kind of bulky, the CJC IPA is a great product because compared to tesamorelin, where you're going to get less kind of release by the pituitary to give you your product that you need, the CJC IPA will release 4, maybe up to 8 times a day. Wow. So you're getting these little pulsations, which is very similar to the normal body. Whereas, in the old days when guys took HGH, or you take things that are strong, like tesamorelin, that's going to be a bang. You're going to get 1-2 hits and then it dwindles down. Okay. CJC IPA is great because it's so close to nature that you can't go wrong. Now, it does have great, additive things in the sense of it helps your sleep pattern, which is excellent. Helps the muscles that you beat up that day heal better. You can get CJC IPA in different strengths as well. So there are guys that will bump up the price, the actual product by twice as much. And, why would you do that, for example? I have seen it, and I've had patients that what they'll need is a little bit more, because now, rather than once a day, that guy who's got a bigger, stronger product, I'm going to have them take a little bit in the morning after they train, and then one at nighttime. Right. So now you're getting 2 cycles kind of there. And the beauty of it is no fluid retention, which you get with almost all other, HGH products. Right. And, I think that's key. And the number of pulsations that you get. So I love CJC IPA. I really do. I get asked a lot, how long do you take this for? Well, if you're young, in the middle age, up to middle ages, I think that, you do it for 2-3 months, maybe take a month off, go back. But on my older clientele, the 60 and 70-year-olds, I just say, dude, just go all the time.
Yeah.
Now, I tell patients that are younger, that you probably should go 5 days on, 2 days off with the CJC IPA,
Right.
because you want to let that pituitary basically just rest and function properly.
Right.
Now, when you're older, it's not going to be as good. So that person might be someone you take 7 days a week.
Yeah.
If you're going to be long term, but it's a great product. I really like it. The double dosing, so to speak, morning and night is great for people that are training in the morning. A lot of people don't have the time to go train in the morning, so they'll do it at nighttime, whatever. But I like it.
Like me, you don't want to train in the morning.
Well,
I was telling people at the dog park, I wake up at 9:30, and they thought I was the biggest slacker. These people will wake up at 6. I go, yeah, but what are you guys doing at 6 in the morning? You're just up. You're watching the news. You're not doing anything useful. I'm up till 1 a.m. doing stuff. So
yeah.
Of course I'm going to get my 8 hours. Yeah, but with the double dosing, that's interesting because I used it. I got some from you last year, and it worked really well. The CGC from Morellin, it's awesome. Generally, for the first couple of weeks, I didn't notice too much. I noticed some sleep-inducing benefits by week 3 or so. But I remember one day I was just looking at I was just coming out of the shower, and I was just cutting some hair in the back of my head. And I looked at my back, and I was like, man, I'm shredded right now. And then like my midsection looked way more, like my back looked really tapered. That's what I noticed the most. I was like, wow, really tapered. Yeah. Midsection was just getting really lean. And I didn't change my diet at all. And I eat clean, but I was eating coconut ice cream and stuff like that every night. I let myself indulge in whatever I feel like. And when I'm training hard, as you know, when you train hard, the appetite goes through the roof.
It does. Yeah.
There's so much clean food you can eat, and then now you need something that's not so clean just to get some more energy in. You just have these cravings because you're training so hard, and then your growth hormones going up. So that's also an expenditure of energy. When growth hormone and testosterone go up, you tend to be more hungry.
Yeah, exactly. And you bring up a good point. You start talking about testosterone, or those individuals that want to take MK677.
Right.
Which is basically an oral version of it. That stuff it's the stuff that you get jacked on because it retains a lot of fluid. Right. And guys think that they're stronger because they got fluid. That's not the case. Yeah. You're the perfect example of what you just described. Here's the CJC IPA doing its normal deal, which is helping your muscles heal, getting some sleep, and you also get some fat loss with the CJC IPA, which people don't understand. But slowly, all these minor things start happening, and you go, hey, my pants are fitting looser. My t-shirts are tighter. What the hell is going on here? And all of a sudden you go, oh shit, And that's why I love that product. The CJC IPA's got so little potential problem that it's awesome, and whether you go, full disclosure, I take it, and my wife gets it also as well. We take 2 days off, no problem. And then I stay out for maybe a couple months, 3 months, and I take a break. Yeah. Usually I time my trips on vacations where I'm going to take a little break, just get the whole thing. And that I'm so focused on that pituitary and how it works that I really want to do it that way. Right, and I've been very happy with it, to be honest with you. Really happy with it.
Next time I try it, I'll try it twice a day. I only took it before bedtime. And but you know what? One thing I've noticed with it is, because you're really right about the MK677. I've used that before. That is an oral version of a growth hormone releasing secretagogue.
Yeah.
It is effective. It increases ghrelin, the hunger hormone, dramatically. I remember the first time I took it, I woke up at 3 a.m. and I had to go downstairs and eat. I go, look, I was like, all I could think about was food.
I know.
I was like, okay, I have to go downstairs and eat something. I'm not going to bother to go back to sleep. It takes your appetite through the roof. So for someone who's not a big eater and they're trying to gain mass, maybe it has some benefit for that purpose, but it does cause the water retention that you're talking about. Because I remember my body weight went from like 198 to 214 or something like that in 2 weeks.
That's a lot of water, man. Yeah.
You'll build muscle that fast, no matter what you're taking. And it was more of a water retention type thing. I'm looking at pictures from that time period. I was way thicker in the waist. Yeah. Water retention. You may actually feel stronger in the gym because you're holding all that extra weight, but it's not muscle. Like some powerlifters take a really high sodium meal before competing. They're squatting with 20 pounds more body weight, which is going to have performance there, bench press as well, not deadlift so much. But so it's similar to that in that you noticed it. But who wants that? Nobody wants that. Nobody takes something to increase growth hormone and wants water retention as a side effect. We want to take it to lean out and get stronger. But when I took CJC ipramorelin, my body weight was around 198 to 202. So when I hit a PR on the deadlift, 605 pounds last year, I was taking, I think it was maybe
that's awesome, dude.
weeks of taking that. But where I'm going is that I was 10 pounds lighter than the year before, but actually stronger.
Yeah.
That's a really cool feeling. And now I keep my body weight around 197 because I can get as strong as I want at this body weight. Before I was taking some advice from Mark Philippi. He's all put the feed bag on. You got to put on a lot of body weight to get stronger. And to some extent, that's true. I mean, you are going to max out your strength at a certain body weight, but I don't want to put on a lot of body fat to get stronger. I'm not a competitive power lifter. And while physique composition is not my primary goal, I'm not going to lie and say I don't want to look good. Everybody wants to look good.
Yeah, and that's the beauty of the dual dosing with CJC IPA. And just for your the fans out there discussing it, how I have the patients dose that. Let's say that I told the patient I want you to take 20 IUs a day. Well, I'm going to tell you to take 10 in the morning and then take 10 at night. Because you're going at it, you're attacking like that.
You're not going to take 20 at night and 20 in the morning. You're going to
correct. Thanks for the clarification. Yeah, you need 10 and 10, which is part of the problem or the hurdle when you take MK677.
Right.
That's it, man. It's in there for 24 hours, and it's even if you do not start eating, you will piss off your wife. Because you're going to go around the house going, and you just get crazy. And it's just, to me, if you want to do it for 6-8 weeks, I'm cool with that, But these guys that are on it for long periods of time, they're going to get some negative, stuff on there.
One of the things, I think it was Carl Lenore on Superhuman Radio, I think either it was him or a guest who said that the problem with that compound is that after a while, your growth hormone production can't keep up. And then it shutdown. So now it goes the other way. Yeah.
And that's so true. And you know what? And to me, MK677 is kind of like a lazy man's steroid, or HGH. Listen, you're going to get really big. There's no doubt about it. Right. But what are you really getting out of it? You're going to get muscle, but if you're going to burn it and your body's going to get trashed in 3 months, that's insane. Why are you doing that? You want to do this, like you said, you want to be able to keep going and, doing, any kind of lifting you want to do, just get better at it, and, the power lifters it's a different breed, those guys, they eat a lot and Flip, thinks that way because he did that. I mean, that's what he did. So it's comfortable for him.
Yeah.
And, I saw him get lean.
Right. I mean, in terms of the fastest way to increase strength, especially for something such as a standing military press, right? Overhead press or squat or bench press. I mean, if you put on more body weight, even if it's fat, you are going to be stronger. It is going to improve performance. And I think one of the reasons why getting a bigger gut improves bench press performance is decreases the range of motion.
Very true.
It takes about 4 inches off that range of motion.
Yeah,
your stomach hits your thighs and you can basically bounce off of that.
Yeah, exactly.
I think it doesn't help. If anything, it hurts because now you got to get the bar over that guy.
Yeah, I'm just waiting for that. The guy's got his barbell. He lets it hit his belly. I swear to God, someone's going to take a shit from that bar hitting his belly. It's going to be shooting out of his ass.
You got to make sure your nutrient timing is on point. That's for sure. It's like, don't have Taco Bell 30 minutes before that workout.
God, that greasy, oily. Oh my God, it was really dangerous.
I always make sure my nutrient timing is on point. I don't have anything to eat for a couple hours before training, 2 hours ideally, because that would always be a fear of mine, is that if you eat too close and let's say you're really straining yourself and then you just have that involuntary relief, that I would be mortified. I would never be able to go to that gym again. I'd be like, all right, I'm never coming back here.
I mean, maybe if you fart, if you shoot, man, if you shoot, A fart, everyone gets away with a fart, because you always look at someone else. Hey, what are you doing, man?
It's so loud in there, no one will hear that. But if you crap your pants in there, everybody's gonna know, and you're not gonna bother to come back. You're gonna be
When you're doing that shuffle to the bathroom.
you're gonna get a nickname that's never gonna go away.
Your name is Spot now.
Like, hey man, I got an extra pair of shorts for you today in case you. Yeah, that's gonna go real south.
Yeah, that's when you're a bitch and you wrap your sweatshirt around your waist like girls used to do. Remember?
What's the UFC fighter's name? Matt. He's the guy that upset GSP years ago. Matt. He's a jiu-jitsu guy.
Yeah. Oh, I know who you're talking about.
Matt Serra. That's who I'm talking about.
Serra, yeah.
Matt Serra on his podcast or another show, he was talking about how one time he was at the gym and he was in his gi and he was running on the treadmill, and all of a sudden he had a fart, but he ended up crapping his pants. So now he's trying to get from the treadmill to the men's locker room without being noticed.
Yeah, right.
People are coming up to him, trying to talk to him. He's like, no, not right now. He's running in there, and then he goes, I had to cut the pants off of me.
Oh my God.
The whole story was so funny.
Speaking of GSP, I saw him on TV just recently.
Yeah.
He's promoting some device, to work out.
Oh, really?
He looks freaking ripped.
Oh,
he looks like he did 10 years ago.
Yeah, he looks amazing. I mean,
he's serious, man. That guy's serious.
Athlete. I mean, and also he does a lot of that gymnastic stuff, so his mobility is incredible. His movement patterns are awesome.
I would love to see him come back.
Oh yeah, I'd love to. Charles Poliquin worked with him one time, and he said that he'd never worked with someone that picked up things so fast. He would just show him one time, and then boom, he had it locked in with perfect technique.
Yeah.
He's an extremely gifted athlete. I mean, he doesn't even have a wrestling background, and look how dominant he was with his wrestling in the UFC. He never wrestled in high school or college. It's amazing.
I know, that's amazing. But people assumed he did, and he didn't. That's why this guy is so unbelievable. And I really, my heart, broke when he stopped, fighting, because he was such a pleasant guy to watch. Right. I mean, it was just, man, he was a hero for so many kids too, but.
Yeah, he'd been through bullying, had a really interesting story, and he always carried himself with so much class. So he was a really good representation.
Yeah, he did.
No doubt about it. I think he left in a very smart way, because with Johnny Hendricks, most of us who saw that fight thought he lost. Now, somehow he managed to squeak out a decision.
Mm-hmm.
I think he was burned out that if he kept fighting at that caliber at 170, I think he probably would have lost at some point. Maybe he would have lost a few in a row, not because he's not still at the top of his game, but just because he's so burned out from all the pressure of being a champion. So he took a couple years off, came back, beat Michael Bisping for the middleweight title. That was amazing. And he looked jacked. Remember when he was 185, his back was this big. Yeah. He was jacked at that body weight. Comes back after not fighting for 5 years, beats him, gets the middleweight title, and then he's like, you know what, I'm done again. Yeah. So I think he's the guy that will come back. If he wants to come back, it'll be whenever he's ready. Yeah, maybe he's ready right now, but I think more mentally, physically, I think he's always ready. But I think mentally and emotionally, I think all those years of being champion just took a toll on him. I mean, he just needed a break. He just got burned.
I can't blame him. I mean, I think he did the right thing.
Like one of these guys where you lose 4 in a row badly, you get knocked out 4 times, and then you finally move on, because not even so much because you lost 4 fights, but you don't want to take that kind of damage at the end of your, or really any time, but certainly not when you're late 30s, early 40s. You got 4 head concussions in a row, and now you're going to retire. I don't like to see any fighter take that kind of damage.
It's very true. I mean, and these guys, they're playing hard, and head trauma with these guys. I'm telling you, people don't think about it too much, but you're getting punched, you're getting kicked to the head. Jesus, I mean, shit happens, and then you can't fix it sometimes.
Speaking of head trauma, that brings back an interesting point with peptides. If someone has head trauma, so for example, they're not producing luteinizing hormone anymore, so no natural testosterone booster is going to work for this person with this head trauma, and TRT makes sense. Would it be a similar situation with growth hormone, meaning that maybe the peptides aren't going to be that effective because of pituitary gland damage, or is it irrespective of that?
No, I mean, I think that does have a side effect in a negative way from that. You know, and that's when you start to totally change from what we were talking. I mean, you start talking about guys that have, you know, TBI, you know, from fighting,
Right.
okay, and they were taking HGH or whatever. Those are the guys that you got to put on, you know, on TB, you know, 4. You got to put them on CJC. Yes, you got to put them on BPC 157 because
Right.
that's, again, and that's where I get kind of, I have trouble explaining to patients because these peptides, there's so much crossover on these peptides from one to another, where a lot of these products have similarities that you could almost do one.
Right.
But then you start adding a second one that has a very good similarity to it, and holy cow! I mean, for, you know, when you give a guy BPC 157, thymosin beta, and thymosin alpha, dude, look out, because it's going to heal him from the injury, and he's going to get strong.
Well,
Because that's what they are.
yeah,
You know?
BPC 157 and TB 500, those are awesome compounds.
Yeah.
And what I noticed initially with BP 157 is that I've never taken anything that improves gut health so much. It just rejuvenates gut health. You feel like you digest 100% of whatever you're eating. You just feel like your gut health is on point. Even if you're eating out a lot and all that, your gut health is just on point. And then for any kind of pain in the body is useful as well. But TB 500, I really noticed a benefit with workout recovery.
Oh, yeah.
More. I need to get more of that. That stuff is awesome. TB, more so than BP 157, I noticed the restorative benefits with TB 500. I like, but the gut health benefits, honestly, that alone is worth taking. Yeah. Because so many people have gut issues. You know, so many people have gut issues and they don't even think they do. They're just so used to it.
That's why a lot of guys don't get strong.
Exactly.
They're weak. Their body is weak and they don't know it.
Right.
You know, you gotta look at your nutrition. You got to start looking at how to manage that, because that's where your strength is.
Right.
I mean, all kidding aside, it's so important, you know. Yeah. And but getting back to the BPC and the TB 500, you know, the BPC is interesting because it's got some neural effects,
right, that
are, you know, have been discussed now a little bit more than they used to in the past, because when they took cerebral lysin off the market by the FDA and their brilliance, you know, let's not go after that. But people started seeing that people were using BPC and it did have a cognitive effect, like thymosin beta or TB 500. It has these products. That's the confusion sometimes that patients get, because they read the manual. This thing does 10 things, and then you read the next one and they're very similar. It's because, you know, the difference between these peptides is so small, right, that you got to understand it, you know, and it's, you know, you're looking at 42 amino acids or less. Right. That's tiny stuff, man, you know, and to me, I mean, it's great. You know, there's so many peptides out there. There's new ones coming out.
Yeah.
And,
really
I love that. I just can't wait for the new one to come out, because I want to try it. You know?
Yeah. I'm ready to try any of the peptides. They're just fascinating compounds. It's really interesting stuff. Now, with just backtracking a little bit with tesamorelin, so you prefer the CGC ipamorelin, the 1295 ipamorelin combination over something like tesamorelin. Now, is tesamorelin, I believe, was originally made to help AIDS patients with excess abdominal fat. For some reason, they were accumulating. I don't know if it was through the treatment or just through the disease. And it seemed to be really effective for that. And I've experimented with tesamorelin. I tried it last year, and I think I took too much because I started getting night sweats, and I also started getting like a decline in mood, more depressive. And so I stopped taking it. But then I realized that I think I was taking way too much. I was taking 30 on the insulin needle, and I find that 20, which is what I'm taking right now, 5 days a week, 2 days off, is working pretty well. And I've noticed a little bit of a leaning effect. I've noticed some improvements in the gym. I don't think I like it as much as the CGC ipamorelin combination. So I think I will go back to that, especially given that your recommendation with tesamorelin is no more than 6 weeks, as opposed to CGC ipamorelin, you can stay on for 12 weeks. Yeah. That's a good amount of time to really benefit, because I mean, 3 months, if you're training, if you have your training dialed in and your nutrition is dialed in and you're on that for 12 weeks, you're going to notice a serious difference.
Yeah. Yeah, the testosterone, when you were there taking it, at a bigger dose and you start getting like that, it's part of what testosterone is going to do. It wants to lose fat because that's why that, they use it for the HIV guys.
Right.
And you wake up at night sweating because you are causing that melting, burning, happening in your body, which is what testosterone wants to do. It's trying to lose the body fat from the HIV person, or it's trying to lean out the guy. Right. And, you're going to pay the price if you do too much at one time. And that's where you got that little bit of a tweak back off and you start feeling better.
Yeah, because I've been on for maybe 2 weeks now, no night sweats, no negative effects.
Yeah.
So I just like playing around with stuff like this. So when people ask me questions, I actually have personal experience. I can say, look, I've tried both options and here's what I think.
Yeah. And I think a lot of what you see in people taking peptides nowadays is it's where they get their advice. If they go to a gym where there's a lot of, meatheads, they're going to tell you to take, you got to take this and this and this. You go to other places and they're going to tell you to take different things. So it's always amazing, what people do and how they learn and how they try different things,
And what are most guys going to do? They're going to go more is better. They're like, he said 20 is good. Well, hell, let's go to 40. See what happens. And more is not always better. Even with my testosterone booster, it works bell curve, just like caffeine. So if you take the right amount, your testosterone goes way up. If you take too much, now it actually goes down. So more is up.
When you bring that up, that whole story, because back in the 90s, when there were people were still taking HGH, and I said, okay, I want to try this. I want to see what this does. So, I drew my blood. And then I got tested. So then I got the result back. I said, okay, now we're going to do 1 unit of HGH. I did it for a couple weeks, tested. I saw the number. I go, holy crap, this thing went up high, I said, fine. So what did I do? So I waited. I took again. And then this time I took 2 units. All right. And I was disappointed when I originally looked at the results, because I said, hey, it didn't double it like it did before. I only got another small percentage. And then I started realizing, I said, I'm getting shut down from the actual product that I was injecting.
Right.
So, and that's the whole thing, that everyone's got to be a little bit different. And that's good, because I said, yeah, at 2, I was doing less. And it's like these bodybuilders that you see at the gym, these guys are taking 10 units, 15 units a day. I'm like, what are you? And these guys wonder what's wrong. Well, because they're working out harder and they're not getting any different, and they're doing all the other stuff that they do. But it was a good study for me in terms of understanding the biology of my body. And it happens to everybody else, same way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good point, because people are taking these excessive dosages, and growth hormone is really expensive. So now you're getting a ton of money and you're getting not only less return, you're getting a negative return.
Right. Right.
If you took a much smaller dosage, save some money, but you get a much more pronounced effect.
Yeah.
Yes, it's just like working out, right? Someone thinks, well, if I do 3 sets of deadlifts, I'm going to increase my strength by this amount. Well, why don't I just do 15 every time? And like, no, at that point, you can't train frequently when the volume is that high. And if you can't train frequently, you're not going to get stronger faster. No. Just this whole a lot of times I would design training programs for people, and they would always be disappointed that they're not wiped out at the end. Like, I wasn't that tired. I wasn't that fatigued. I felt like I could do it again. Those are all positive things. Those are not, for those of us that want longevity, I'm going to be 48 in a couple months, and I'm still getting stronger. Now I want to keep the ball moving. Now, the only way you can do that is you got to be smart with training.
That's right.
You don't go in and wipe yourself out every single time.
Yeah, you can't. I mean, listen, I know you and I have both done it, because we've tried some German volume training, which is crazy, but you got to do it. You got to do it because you say you did it, and you want to see what it feels like. And Philip would do that to us. Philip would just make us do that stuff. And like right now, he's got me, he's out of town. He's in Azerbaijan. So, he sent me the workout for 4 weeks, and it was very interesting because he flipped it totally. Instead of doing the difficult day first, he's got the difficult day last. Right. So he's got me deadlifting and doing all this wild stuff on Fridays. And, you know, like the other days, which, you know, it's kind of like he's building up to doing that. And it's interesting, you know, because he's a smart dude. You know, he knows when he's got to change that recipe for that player. And that's what, you know, one of the many things I admire about him is that he's always thinking. He's always, let's try this, let's try that. And he uses me as a you know, kind of like what's this guy going to do? You know, because I'm older and I'm going to be 64 here pretty soon. And he goes, how much can I push this guy and see what he's going to do?
Right.
And you know, of course, I overdo it sometimes. And, you know, I pay the price, but it is what it is.
Well, no, it's hard. It's hard not to overdo it at PSI, and I don't say that in a negative way. The reason why I say that is because there's so many badasses training there. I mean, you got high school girls doing 10 pull-ups like it's nothing. Everyone's crushing it in there. So you don't want to be the guy who comes in and you half-ass it. Also, Mark will make fun of you. He'll make fun of you.
Oh my God, he embarrasses you.
He's like, it is really quick, like a sniper too. It's like, oh, okay, all right, let me get back to work here. He's really good at that. He's really good at managing chaos because he's in the gym. When I was training over there, he would be giving me advice, and then meanwhile, he's got someone else over here, and then there's someone across the way. He's like, hey, you're doing that wrong. You need to do this. You're need to do that. It's like triage, right? It's like an episode of MASH where it's triage, and they have to diagnose patients within a.
You hit it so dead on target.
Yeah.
You know, he just walks on, sees someone out of the corner of his eye. He goes, move your left foot, forward. And you're like, what? And all of a sudden you do that and you go, oh. And he just, you know, he's been doing it for so long that it's just, you know, second nature to him. So I miss him when he's not here because he can't yell at me. But I like him to yell at me.
I mean, the best deadlift advice I ever got was from him in terms of technique, because he's the one who taught me that whole dip and drive, which made it
drive, buddy.
Legs. Because I remember one time I went in there and I showed him a clip of me deadlifting 5 plates, and it was a real struggle. I could barely do it once. And I go, what do you think of this? And he's like, well, you know, I think this sucks is what I think. he goes, you're just lifting with your back. You're not using a leg drive at all. And I was like, all the years of kettlebell training, your back is really strong. So you go to your strengths. But I was starting with my hips way too high. So he goes, load up your legs, drop your hips, pull the bar at the right time. You got to time it right. And it took a while to learn that move. You know, it sounds simple, just drop your hips and pull the bar. But if when you drop, the timing between dropping your hips and pulling the bar has to be perfect for that bar to pop off the ground.
Yeah.
You almost have that feeling of weightlessness, like the bar just moves magically. So if you drop your hips, but then you're down there for 4 seconds and then you pull, you're going to miss it. But if you try to pull the bar without dropping your hips, now it looks like a Romanian deadlift. Now your butt goes way high, the bar hasn't moved, and now the bar finally moves. You know, so there's a lot of technique with the deadlift. It looks like a simple move, but anyone who's really good at it, there's a lot of technique involved. But that dropping the hips and pushing through the floor, that made it. Once I learned that technique, all of a sudden the weights just started piling on.
Huge difference. Yeah.
It felt way better on your lower back. You didn't have any strain in your lower back at all.
Yeah. No, it's true. And that's why he would always put those plates, you know, drop your, you know, elevate you or drop you depending on what he wanted to achieve. Right. Because it's really, if you just do an RDL and you're trying to lift the deadlift that way, you're going to get hurt. It's just, you can't do that weight, you know.
No way.
But once you learn how to dip and drive, man, you know, I remember when I was going through it, you know, and it was, you had to learn to dip and drive because he wanted that plate on the floor again. And he wanted you to re-grab it. He doesn't want to go boom, 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 boom. He wants boom,
right,
boom, boom, you know, and that's what makes you a man.
No, it's not. I mean, most people when they're deadlifting, they're just trying to get momentum going. So they're hitting the ground hard and immediately lifting. I always park it, reset, boom, lift it. So each rep is basically replicating what a 1 rep max would be like, as opposed to the first rep is the hardest and the next 4 are easy because you're just bouncing it off the floor in between.
Yeah, you're doing singles, and that's you approach things so differently that way. Yeah, I agree.
The thing about deficit deadlifts, and I used to do those a lot. I need to start doing those again. One thing I found with deficits is my deficit deadlift, even 4 inches or more, was pretty much the same strength as my deadlift off the floor. And in some ways it felt easier. Even though it's an extended range of motion, it forces you to do a leg drive. I mean, you have to drop your hips. There's no way you can do a Romanian.
Do it. Yeah.
Back's going to be rounded. There's no way.
Yeah.
So you really have to drop your hips, which shows that you have a certain amount of flexibility too. Some people, they're just not going to be able to get into the right position. They're going to be too round. But if you can do deficit deadlifts, that, in my opinion, is the fastest way to learn that leg drive, because it forces you to learn it. The problem is that I didn't find much carryover to off the floor, because it's different enough that it's almost completely different. At least for me, you know, other people, sometimes they notice these magical transfers. I got really good at deficits where I didn't do it off the floor. I only did deficits. And then I went back to the floor, and I was actually weaker off the floor. It took a while to catch up. I think that's why I stopped doing deficits, not because I don't think they're great, but because I'm using them as a way to improve my lift off the floor. And if it's not improving that, then I need to do some lifting off the floor. But I think what I needed to do is not only do deficit deadlifts. One day you do deficit, one day off the floor, another day with bands off the floor, another partials just below the knee. And that way you're getting the benefits of all these different slight variations without overly fixating on one, where now your body's going to get really good at that one fixation. It's not going to carry over to others because you're not doing it. You're not doing it off the floor anymore. So your body doesn't remember all the cues of how to do that properly.
It forgets. You know, the muscles tighten up and the ligaments tighten up, and you got to go back. I mean, it's a fascinating thing, you know, and that's the challenge. And for me, it probably, and likewise for you, that deadlift is the perfect thing to do, because so many things are getting activated.
Yeah.
I mean, really, if you were only going to do one thing, that's a deadlift, because you will take it with you wherever you go.
It's so true. That's why I like that move so much. People are like, oh, you're obsessed with the deadlift. I go, one, it's a great barometer of your overall strength. You know, if you had to pick one move, because your grip is strong, assuming you're not using straps. Your midsection has to be really strong to bring your back. You're using your legs, and you're using your back. So, I mean, you're using just about every muscle. You're not using any pushing muscles, but you're getting so much out of just one move that if the average person only did deadlifts, I'm not recommending this, by the way, but if the average person only did deadlifts a couple times a week, they would get better results than 99% of gym goers. They really
100%. Absolutely right.
Just majoring in minor things. You know, doing sets of curls, and then they're doing triceps for 10 sets, and then they're doing chest flies. I mean, those aren't big movement patterns. You know, you're not going to get, it's not going to have this systemic benefit on your body doing these isolation type moves. That should be supplemental if used at all.
At all, right. You got to use, you know, it's basically core. It's like one thing, I got a bad shoulder, so I started doing, you know, when I stopped squatting with straps. You know, it's like I was trying to use straps and pull it and squat, you know, like everyone else did. And I said, I can't do this anymore. My shoulder's too beat up. So I started doing, you know, basically, you know, I put a harness on and I'm doing front raises. And let me tell you, it worked. It crosses over to that deadlift when you're doing, you know, an upright, you know, position where you're up high, that plate's up there, and your core, your whole posterior chain has to work. And that makes your deadlift better. And the other one makes the other one.
Squats, right?
Front squat. Yeah, front squat. Sorry. Yeah. And I mean, I haven't regularly squatted for a long time. Now, I don't, you know, because when I started getting up there, I didn't want to have a bad day where no one was spotting me and then have that weight go forward. I said, oh, you know, not going to happen. But, you know, you got to be careful. You don't want to get hurt. You want to keep going.
Well, that's the other thing I like about deadlifting is you don't need a spotter. You can go as heavy as you want. The bar is not going to move, or it's not. And if a spotter is not going to be able to do anything if the bar is moving.
No.
They're not going to be able to help you if you get out of the pocket. They're not going to be able to help you in any way. So there's no point. No. I'll send you this clip from Instagram. There's a guy doing a heavy deadlift in this gym in India, and he misses the lift. So then the second time he tries, he's got this guy behind him with his arms around his waist, the way you would spot someone on squats. The guy's all pulling him up, and this guy's back is so rounded. He shouldn't have even been trying to complete that rep. It's the funniest thing ever. I got to find that. So yeah, that's definitely not the way to go.
Yeah, for sure.
So, with peptides, with BPC 157 and TB 500, are these things you could stack with the growth hormone peptides, or would you recommend separate times?
No, you could, and I think it would be fine. You know, if you've got an injury, for example, and you want to heal fast,
Right.
The mix there would be testosterone, CJC, IPA, maybe, but BPC 157 and the thymosin, you know, the TB 500. If you've got a recent injury, shoulder, hip, whatever, that's a good mix. The testosterone with the other two, because it's 6 weeks. Boom, man. If you haven't healed, you did something seriously wrong.
Right.
And that's about all you need to do. Then you go back to doing your normal stuff, you know? So yeah, I think that's a reasonable 6.
Is TB 500, is that something you would cycle as well? So you take it for 12 weeks, and then if you're taking it on its own, let's say you're not taking it with any.
Yes. To answer your question, it's 2 to 3 months, and then I make them take at least a month off.
Right.
Because your body needs to, you know, kind of correct itself. You got to, you know, give everything, your whole system a little bit of time to rest.
Well,
because that's what you're going to do it. I'm sorry?
I would imagine you get desensitized as well if you're on anything for too long. Just like herbs, you know, with my testosterone booster, I used to say 8 weeks on, 4 weeks off. Now I recommend 12 weeks on, 4 off, because 12 just gives you a longer time span to really benefit. Just like what we're saying with the peptides, 12 weeks, the CGC one, and then 4 weeks just to get your body resensitized to it so that you're getting the benefits, so you feel the benefits.
When I take your product, when I take your testosterone product, I go 3 weeks or three cycles and then take a break.
That's what I found was best.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's the perfect medication.
Well, thank you. That's a high level endorsement. Okay, so let's move on to people are going to like this, the sex enhancing peptides, because there's two that I've tried that are really interesting. One is PT 141 and the other one is melatonin 2. Now, both of these are similar derivatives, right?
Correct. Yes. Yeah. And that makes it a little bit challenging about which is the one you're going to, you know, try to use. And they're very different, and people respond very differently to both of those products.
Right.
You know, I think, you know, timing is key for both of the products in terms of, you know, when do you take this product? When are you going to benefit from it sexually?
Yeah.
You know, some people, you know, can start it up, you know, within an hour. Some people it takes 10 hours to get stimulated. I mean, it's, I
tried PT 141 actually. I remember I got some from you last year as well. And you're like, yeah, it may take a couple hours for you to notice anything. And I think I took a shot at maybe, I don't know, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And even at maybe 8 o'clock, I didn't feel a thing. And then it was getting towards maybe midnight or so. And all of a sudden, like, boing, you know, it's like, you're like, hoo, all right, what's going on here? I was like, damn, this stuff. And then in the middle of the night, you were getting these erections throughout the night, and then waking up the next day, it was literally, I could have put 5 nails in the wall with that, you know? At the risk of being way too visually descriptive. I mean, when it kicked in, it really kicked in. And I think the effects lasted for maybe, I don't know, 2 days, 3 days. It wasn't something where it just wore off after a couple hours. That's for sure.
Most of the patients I've treated with that particular peptide versus, you know, the melatonin 2.
Melatonin 2.
Yeah, they're different. Right. You know, the sexual desire with the latter seems to be, in my opinion, a little bit more effective. Whereas a PT 141, that's like let's go. You know, it's army time. You know, and so there's a similarity. I mean, I've seen patients do both.
Oh, really?
Just when he told me, I'm like, "You're gonna do what?" And he goes, "Yeah. Don't worry." I'm like, "I worry. You're my patient."
I don't.
And
I'll be doing that right after this episode. Huh? That sounds like a good idea. Let me try that.
Well, yeah, but it's kind of like the same game I tell patients when they're learning what's testosterone and then dihydrotestosterone and estradiol, that, you have one that's performance and one's motivation, and that's where the PT and the melanotan 2, sometimes you can really do that a little bit. You got to play with it. Everyone's a little bit different, because I find that most of the patients that are taking the latter, the melanotan 2, it's more of a desire thing. It's like, they want to do it. Whereas the other thing, forget it. It's coming whether you want it or not. You just don't know when. That's part of the problem. It's like,
if you don't have the desire, you're going to have the desire because you're just aroused for no reason. So you're gonna, let me do something with this. I don't want this to go to waste. So now the melatonin, what I noticed with that is exactly what you said. First of all, I noticed it a lot faster. So within maybe 2 hours of taking it, you notice a big arousal increase, and then you notice similar benefits to PT-141 in terms of erection strength and all that.
Yeah.
But it doesn't last as long as PT-141. I think it was in and out in 24 hours. So that's something where maybe someone like me would take melatonin too if I'm like, okay, I'm gonna have sex in a couple hours. Let me take this right now so that I'm ready to go. While PT-141, you may take that. Let's say you're planning on having sex on Saturday. You may take it on Thursday night or Friday morning so that it's fully in your system by the time you're ready to go. You're gonna go do a staycation or something like that. You go, okay, we're gonna go out on Saturday and Sunday. Let me inject Friday morning. Go the entire weekend.
Hey, listen. I mean, I have a lot of patients here that do. Bioidentical hormone replacement.
Right.
And let me tell you, Friday afternoon here with my nurses, that's a busy place, because these guys, they don't want to do their own shots. Yeah. They come over here and they got my nurses, put needles in their butt.
The testosterone shot's really big, right? The testosterone shot's not like an insulin needle, isn't it? Like a really long, thick.
It's about that.
Not too bad.
And it's just a matter of the girth or the size of the needle, because you got to be able to push the oil through there. So you got to use, at least a 23 gauge needle. Otherwise, you're going to be there for an hour.
You can put a much smaller amount in, let's say, an insulin needle, and then take a little bit each.
Yeah, you can do that.
You could do that. Okay.
There's some guys that do that in their belly, and that way, if you want to do lower doses, if you do a 1 cc or 1 ml of testosterone, you're going to be really up high, and then you're going to come down low, and then you're going to crash, and that's when you want to redo it. So some guys will just do half a cc every 3 days.
Okay.
So then you don't get that bottoming out. You get more of a little bit of a.
That's going, because otherwise it can be somewhat of a roller coaster ride. I mean, I've used testosterone cream before, but I've never used the shots. Testosterone cream I like because you can get to a nice steady level and then and keep it there. You can regulate the dosage based on your blood work. I mean, the negative there is that you can sweat it out. So some people that are really overweight, they're sweating all the time, so it's not getting fully absorbed. Or you go to your spouse, because so I mean, that you have to just be a little bit careful with that. But with the shots, it always seemed that if you're getting a shot once a week, you get the shot and then your level goes through the roof, and then maybe the next couple of days you feel really good. But by the end of the week, you're depleted, and then boom, you get the shot again.
Right. Yeah, and that's why you gotta pick your poison, so to speak. I mean, look at Gordon, how he got people off of testosterone. These guys with TBI, and he put them on Clomid.
Yep.
And that was pretty much it. And these guys were amazing. Yeah. I mean, so you gotta look at things and go, okay, let's see how it's not doing what I wanted. Let's try something different. And that's the beauty of being able to communicate with a patient well, is you can try different things.
Like there's a different protocol for different situations too. I mean, I like the testosterone cream if I'm going through a high stress period, right? Where you feel really depleted, your sleep is off, because it's going to help keep your levels up regardless of what's going on. So that's a plus. Now, I like Clomid. I like stacking Clomid with my testosterone booster, because now you get that pronounced release of luteinizing hormone, ramps up your own production.
Hell yeah.
Clomid milligrams every third day is what Dr. Gordon recommended. I found that worked really well for me. And then when I didn't find with Clomid that I got the same sex driving enhancing benefits that comes with my product, because my product does more than just increase testosterone. It increases dopamine, lowers cortisol. increases free testosterone, things like that. But stacking them together, you get the benefits of both now. Now you're getting all the benefits of Clomid, which is an awesome product. I mean, it's an awesome medication for increasing your own production. And 50 milligrams every third day, that's a really low dosage compared to what you see people recommend online. A lot of people recommend 100 milligrams every day. I mean, that's just absurdly high. And it's that's actually going to lower the estrogen in your brain so much that you have no drive, no function. You're going to feel terrible.
Yeah. And you need that. I mean, you know, we are very forgetful that, you know, we need that estradiol receptor in our brain. We all have it. Right. And people don't want it. I mean, a lot of guys that are, you know, juicing up, they take, you know, Arimidex, you know, they want to block all that stuff. Before they know it, you know, their estradiol is almost zero, and they got brain fog. And they, you know, which most of these guys are, you know, meatheads, so you can't tell the difference with them. But, you know, you need to have that brain power, you know, and I can tell you, when I've started males on HRT, they get more clear in their business model.
Absolutely.
Because they start, you know, they get that little bit of estradiol that goes in their brain, all of a sudden they're focused. It's amazing. I mean, you know, that's the beauty of all this stuff, you know. We have to really
are very interested in hormone optimization. If you're an entrepreneur, you're always in cerebral mode. So if your brain is hampered in any way, if you're not functioning at full capacity, that's going to have a real negative impact on your business growth, your motivation, all of those things.
Yeah, for sure.
Difference. Now, tying into Clomid and increasing luteinizing hormone, the last peptide I wanted to talk about is Kiseptin. Now, that's one I haven't tried yet, but I'm going to try soon. That one looks really interesting. What do you think about that one?
Dude, it is the freaking bomb.
Yeah.
Okay? It is, I mean, literally, it is, it's a daily shot, okay? But it's an insulin syringe, so it's like a nothing.
Right.
And it creates the capability of functioning without doing a lot of these things that we just were talking about. You know, this is reparative. Right. Now, where did Kisspeptin come from? Why did it become popular? You know, part of it was, you know, HCG was taken off the market by the FDA in many, many places. Right. And we used to take HCG to do that. And, you know, so these scientists came up with Kisspeptin. Just for the people out there, it's called Kisspeptin not because you get kissed, but the guy who invented this stuff happens to be from Pennsylvania, and his medical place there where he works was near the this is going to be funny, but it's near the chocolate factory.
Oh yeah.
So, you know, Hershey's Kisses, it's in Hershey, Pennsylvania. Okay.
So
they named it this.
That is hilarious. I was like, how did they come up with this as a name?
Right. You think it's, you know, you think immediately it's like something for kissies. But
it'll improve your technique. That's what
I can tell you personally from the patients I've done, males and females, they love Kisspeptin. It's a constant thing that doesn't drop down. It's, you know, your body creates it. You don't need prolonged breaks. You know, you go on it for 50, 60 days, take a couple weeks off if you want, just to see. But it's very inexpensive compared to some other stuff. So yeah, I mean, I think it's a yes move, no matter what, male or female. And the women get a lot out of it. Their ovaries will kick in the estradiol and estrogens, you know, up. Progesterone won't, but you know.
It can be used as a possible alternative to estrogen replacement therapy for women.
Yeah.
And does it increase testosterone in women?
Yes.
Oh wow.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's one thing that they didn't think it would happen, but yes, for sure. And it's funny because women's vaginal cream support, they give them estradiol, and they start, you know, they're giving them testosterone because you need that. Now, if you give it to them with Kisspeptin, what the heck? You know, you don't have to put the vaginal thing in there.
Wow.
You know, some women like that, some women don't. But Kisspeptin's an awesome product. Awesome product.
Kisspeptin, that's how you say it. I don't know what I was saying. Kiseptin, Kisspeptin.
Yeah.
That name threw me off. Now, is this something that you take 7 days a week, or did you do 5 days on, 2 days off, like every other peptide?
No, you go you go every day
Okay.
for 2 months, take a break, maybe 3 months, take a break. No, you don't need to take that. I mean, you could if you wanted, but you want to get that kind of auto control, so to speak, I guess, for lack of a better word.
Right.
Really well received, very reasonable price compared to some of the other peptides, which are more difficult to make. So that's where a lot of the pricing comes. The cost of making some of these peptides is high. So, like dihexa as a cream, it's pretty pricey. It's, probably close to $300 retail or gross sale.
Is that, what's it called? What is that?
Dihexa? Oh, we're going to save it for another talk.
Okay. We'll talk.
Basically, you use it for its memory. It's a cognitive thing.
Okay. Now I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. So it's really cool.
Yeah. It's so interesting. There's so many peptides that are out there, and you want to try all of them, but you have to pick and choose a few of them, see how your body responds, at least one at a time, and then you can start playing around with combinations. Right. But it's really interesting stuff. Now, you can get peptides all over the web, but there are some legitimate websites that are good. I think Peptide Sciences is a really good one. Mm-hmm. But I always recommend that people go to a doctor like yourself so that you can walk them through the process and you look at some lab work. And then also you learn from a professional how to use the needle and all that. That's not something where you want to watch a tutorial on YouTube going, okay, I think I got it. That's why I didn't use peptides for a long time, is I was intimidated by having to use a needle. I was like, I don't want to deal with that.
Yeah.
Once I came to you and you walked me through it and you showed me how easy it is to reconstitute the product and also how to do injections easily, now it's not a big deal at all. Right. So I don't think you want to play around with these compounds without working with a professional and without doing some lab work to see where you're at.
Yes,
you don't
for
buy
sure.
peptides on a website and let's see what happens and then hope for the best.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of companies out there that sell peptides that they know their stuff,
right?
But they're not physicians, and technically, the peptide is a medication,
right?
So we call them peptides, but they're medications, and when you look at some of those places, they will say very clearly for research purposes only, which. Listen, I mean, if you want to do it, that's fine. A lot of people do it. I'm not going to criticize them, but I think when push comes to shove, sooner or later, they're going to clamp down on this stuff.
They are. It's just like
with
SARMs and peptides sold online, they always have to speak in generalities. They always have to say, okay, here's how you use it for your lab rats. Wink, wink. And then when people give testimonials, it's hilarious. It's like, oh man, my lab rat got so much stronger. Sex drive went up. It's like, yeah, I bet you're a lab rat.
Yeah, exactly.
I love how it's so funny when they have to speak in generalities, all these different things. And they're in a gray area right now where it's not regulated, but it's going to go the way of pro hormones most likely at some point.
Yeah,
where the hormones aren't available, and we don't want peptides to not be available through doctors like yourself, as we don't want it to be clamped down where now no one can get it because it's the Wild West and people are just selling it left and right, and then people are taking too much or they're taking the wrong dosage and they're getting negative effects, and now they clamp down and no one can use it. So we don't want that to happen. That would be
exactly. No, you hit it on the head for sure. 100%.
Well, cool. I know you got to go, so let's wrap it up. What's your website again where people can check out what you have to offer?
Probably the easiest place is right now it's called Regenerative Medicine Institute of Nevada. Okay. So, but we're going to change the name. Full disclosure, why we're changing the name is because the FDA clamped, they actually do not want us use the word regenerative, which is ridiculous. But they took off a lot of other things that we can't say, or we shouldn't say, and people are still doing it. So, but it's, if you just type my name, and look at peptides, it'll come up.
I'll have your website right below.
I know you will. Yeah. I mean, I'm still doing plastic surgery, although that's slowly, starting to sail away. I'm enjoying what I'm doing now to a great extent. And so anyway, but
anyone in Las Vegas that's looking for a great hormone optimization doctor, they want to explore peptides, definitely go to you. You're the best. You're a super guy, and you're very patient. And also, one thing I really like about you is, what are you, 64 again? Is that what you said?
I'll be 64 here in a couple months.
And I guarantee you, anyone watching, no one thought you were close to that age. You actually,
gray hair.
Yeah, the hair might give it away a little bit, but I like going to people that actually practice what they preach, right? You're not talking about all these different things and then you don't even work out. You live a healthy lifestyle, you eat right, you work out hard, and then you're taking things to stay in. So that's what I want to see in an anti-aging doctor or hormone optimization doctor, whatever you want to call it. So anyone that's in Vegas, you're the guy to go to. Absolutely.
I appreciate that, Mike. Thank you very much.
Awesome. Please stop recording here.
As always, you're a great teacher for all these people, and I learned so much from you, and obviously we laugh and control.
You got to have fun in life. You can't be so uptight where you get offended by everybody. We have a big problem in this country now where everybody wants to be offended. It makes them feel important.
I can offend them. I'll volunteer.
Every time I talk, I'm going to offend someone. I put up a clip of me doing vacuums with my shirt off on my Instagram story. Someone's going to be offended by that. Someone's going to be aroused by that. Someone's going to be offended that they got aroused watching that.
Yeah, right. So
awesome. Let me stop recording here. Okay. Actually, I stop. Hold on one second.